You're listening to Well, I Laughed, Part 3 of The Happiest Place on Earth, Am I the Asshole? It has been 2 weeks since we've recorded.
You know, it's actually really shocking how quickly codependency develops. Because you were gone for 7 days, one less than we thought, and I tangibly noticed your absence in my life.
It was great because I intentionally stopped responding to, like, everything.
Yeah.
It was so freeing.
And I took a big risk. I really stepped out of my comfort zone by making that Reba McEntire video.
And people loved it.
Right. You were on the plane, and so your silence for hours
was deafening.
Oh, yeah. It was actually a real testament. It was like a test of my own courage. But as Brene Brown would say,
oh my God,
choose courage over comfort. No, that's probably trademarked.
Just don't try and sell anything with it.
So don't make it a sticker.
Yeah, probably.
I would also say on this topic of codependency, what's really interesting is you guys leave once and I'm immediately like, miss you guys. I was gone many times in July and I would get text messages from Maia being like, are you back? Like we had different experiences. I think it reinforces the idea many of us have about the podcast, about who is running it and who's just kind of excited to be invited.
Let's be clear. You were never told that you can't post on the story. In fact, I think my exact words are, you should post on the story.
Do we want to get into exact words? Because I think
No,
the
I
exact words are, hey, for the first 2 weeks, how about I post on the story? And then after that, we can post on the story.
Yeah.
And the tough part is, she's right. I was not ready for the big time in early June. I've gone back to school, and it's so important to be a lifelong learner. I'm fully in the swing.
That's one of my lifelong values as a lifelong Pi-Phi, is lifelong learning.
Is Pi-Phi a sorority or the name of a professional development company that your engineering firm hired?
Yes.
Okay.
Me being the professional development.
That sounds right. And I think we have a small contingency of teachers who tune in. Mm-hmm. I am so sorry that you are hearing people talk about professional development in what is probably the only plan period you get all day. I am sorry. But just know from the bottom of my heart, I'm just really excited for our time together.
Oh my God.
Real quick before you go, we do have a survey for you to fill out to let us know how we did. And then the real kicker. Okay, who's ready to practice? And make sure we practice with fidelity. I'm not commenting at all on the effectiveness of those strategies. What I am commenting on is the commonality of those kind of statements.
Have you seen Avatar: Last Airbender?
Yes. I'm an earthbender.
Judy in the Earth Kingdom, and she's like, everything is fine. There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Yes. Which you know is based off of like a real thing that happened, by the way, right?
What?
Oh, yeah, 100%. That whole, and like the lakes and stuff. Yeah, 100%. I can't tell you the exact country because I'm not remembering it. I don't want to just like pin that on something. But the inventor of Avatar just fully lifted something that happened in a totalitarian state and was like, what a compelling B-plot in season 3.
It was very off-putting. You know what? It really kicked the point home.
There is no war in Ba Sing Se, and there is no professional development going on. I think I said this. Okay. No, I didn't. I specifically did not tell you this because I wanted to catch your reaction on air to this. So, fun fact about me, I do not talk about the podcast at work. It is my prize and joy. I love it. Don't invite me to your dinner party. I'm going to talk about it. But at work, I just want to be Mr. Thomas.
Yeah.
And my strategy is to just be really good at being Mr. Thomas. And that really is enough. You know, like the job of being a teacher is already so big. Mm-hmm. So for all of the little icebreaker activities, well, I laughed is a series of words I have not said at all. And
Wow.
so one of my coworkers sat down next to me at the start of one of our sessions today and goes, Grant. And I could hear it in her voice.
Oh, no, you're immediately heart palpitations.
I go, yeah. And she goes, do you have a podcast by any chance? And I was like, yes, I do. And she goes, I thought so. Your co-host is so good. And she's right, but I was also really primed for a compliment for myself.
That just gave me so much joy.
And I was like, oh yeah, and I do that thing that I always do, which is tell the truth about you, which is that like, oh yeah, Maia does like all of the work and is the visionary and is the spark and is the reason we exist. And then normally people go, well, Grant, you're also just so funny. And this coworker instead said, she should think about TV. And I wanted to say at the time, we get it, she's pretty. But that felt really aggressive when I was cosplaying being humble. And so I didn't say anything at all. But I was like, yeah, no, my co-host is great. And I have a podcast. And please tune in. We have new episodes every Wednesday.
Like, you have nothing to say funny about me?
Do you know how humiliating it is to be like, no one asked me? And then the first person who does is like, so Maia...
All right, we can wrap it all up, folks. This was an elaborate plan to teach Grant a lesson, and we've done it.
Am I being punked right now?
Bring out the cameras.
Worth it to meet Ashton Kutcher.
To be fair, most of our like ratings that we get that are complimenting us as hosts are like, Grant is hilarious and Maia has some really nice quips. And, like, that's the order it's always in. And whenever they're like, someone commented something that was like, when Maia said this, I was like, you're listening to me?
I'm gonna have to talk over her more. I'm gonna have to kind of end that.
I'm not just the buzzing in between Grant's words. What?
Okay, we have a full video where we just full on admit that you're prettier than me and how important that is to everything.
And I made sure that was a standalone reel.
That got prime slotting in that was not a double post day.
No,
that was
wasn't.
just on its own. I mean, it's still true. It is still true.
It was also funny. It was good. It was a good one, I'd say. My hair's so tangled.
I love how we managed to not really say anything nice about the other person.
Yeah, you're all right.
You're good. I mean,
He showed up before the scheduled time.
Okay. My
Today.
work is apparently listening to this, so we had back to school night tonight, and I am feeling like I'm back at school.
To be fair, he said he thought he would show up around 7:30
Right.
because he had an event and wasn't sure like when he was going to be able to leave. So I was fully expecting him at or after 7:30. Casey was asking me if I needed help to find any Am I the Asshole content for the day. And I was like, well, I haven't heard from Grant, so I'm assuming I have a couple minutes. And I literally turn around and Grant is walking up to the door. And I was like, what the hell?
I'm early.
It was 7:20.
And could use a drink. And not because I'm a teacher, but because it had been a 10-hour day.
Yeah,
And
it's a long
also,
day.
I don't know what's wrong with me per se. I gave myself a challenge to hike 100 miles in August.
A lot of miles.
It is a lot of miles. And do you know what's really aware of that? All of the blisters on my feet right now. My feet hurt a lot. And so I'm just kind of like physically tired. I am a little mentally exhausted. And yet I'm still serving podcast realness.
I was in Iceland, and I also hiked around 30 miles in the last week. I do not have blisters. I am emotionally tired, but that's because I'm back in the United States.
Which is good. We're both, I think, really tired for this episode 3 of The Happiest Place on Earth. I'm going to keep doing the Target hand ladies.
Target lady hands.
Lady hands. Hand ladies is like lady hands is.
I honestly don't know which one is
More
real.
visual jokes.
No,
You're welcome,
audio
YouTube.
Content.
So before we jump into the Am I the Asshole stories that we have to tell, I really kind of loved the stories that we've shared that you've now at this point listened to. We haven't published the first 2 quite yet. That's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm proud of Aya, neither one of us, from talking about Disneyland, which is immediately what several of our friends asked us were going to happen.
I thought you were for sure going to do Disneyland.
No, I love a curveball. And neither one of us shared any like actual like story from Disney. Mm-hmm. So for this, the like wrap up episode,
now it has to be Disney.
I have one story from my own childhood. Actually, now that I think about it, it's a couple. Okay, so I was very fortunate to go on a family trip to Disney World when I was a child. Oh my God. We went in October of 2001. Mm-hmm. And what was happening in the world around October of 2001, Maya?
October 2001, wasn't that right after 9/11?
It was right after 9/11, which is a freaky time to fly for the first time ever. Ooh. As a third grader, like 8 days after planes are even allowed to fly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. So mom and dad were always like very frugal. They were great financial planners. My mom worked at a bank for a little bit before she had a career change with kids. All of that is to say, this trip to Disney World for this family of 5 cost like every single penny. Yeah. So I'm sure we did not have travel insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And so it was, we will go to Disney World.
I don't care what's happening in the world.
That's it, exactly. And so, one, it was wild because all of our family photos from that look like we're at the set of The Shining.
Oh, no.
Because there's no one in any of the restaurants that we are in. Because, of course, all of them canceled their reservations because you couldn't even fly until like 5-6 days before. Yeah. But mom and dad kept their hand on the trigger and they kept it steady. And so that is nuts.
Yeah,
and
that's
it also meant
crazy.
That we got Disney World without like a lot of like the crowds or anything. And that is where this story comes from.
You got the fast pass without paying for the fast pass.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
That's crazy.
We rode the Hard Rock and roller coaster or whatever like 4 times in a row because there just wasn't a line. You can't do that these days, folks. You can't do it.
No, you can't.
We were on the ground floor.
Just like we are of the Finland conspiracy theory.
Oh, you mean the thing that we just platformed? Yeah. That was really, that's our legacy. So sorry, I'm back. So 8-year-old Grant is on this big family vacation. You know, obviously there's locals in the park, but it's not maybe as crowded as it might be otherwise. And we're at Disney World and we go to, God, what was the name of the first park that we went to? It might have been like MGM Studios or something like that. And, you know, 8 years old in Nebraska, I hadn't quite yet been exposed to art the way that I have now. And so a street performer is a really fascinating thing for like 8-year-old me.
100%.
I don't know it's a trap, is what I'm trying to say. And I'm watching, and it's these like group of women dressed up from like a certain era. I forget which one.
Yeah.
Like maybe the 1940s or whatever. And they're talking about who their dream guy is, and they're describing people in the audience. And then at the end, they go up and like give the guy a kiss on the cheek.
Okay.
And it's like fun to like try to start guessing who it is. And 8-year-old me is like, I've played this game before. I can match descriptions. And so I'm like enjoying it. I'm having a great time.
Yeah.
And then this performer starts to talk and she starts to describe a person. And I'm having the hardest time finding them in the crowd until I realize it's me.
Oh my God, I knew
She was talking about me. And while I didn't have the word gay,
Oh,
I did have
like,
the spirit of it. Don't tell Ron DeSantis. It's a Florida joke. And I remember like turning on her heels in this like big green dress and locks eyes with me, and a spike of terror runs through my spine.
No.
And I'm a young thing at the time, which is to say, fast. And I take off so fast that my mom can't even think to grab me before I run. And I just sprint in the direction that I had seen my parents or seen my dad and sister go. And so I run through a chocolate shop where I see my dad and I like him yelling like, she's trying to kiss my dad. And I sprint through it. And mom is carrying like my 4-year-old brother trying to catch me, losing the race. Greg, my father, love him to death, so confused. I run probably the entire main street and then hide behind a mailbox. I don't know why. I am just like terrified of a woman's affection. And I stay hidden there until in my little like 8-year-old monkey brain, the danger passes. And I remember walking back up and my parents are talking to like Disney security because they have lost their child.
Oh my God.
More specifically, their child managed to evade capture. And to this day, when a new person gets like brought over for family or dinner or something like that, this story gets told. And for a long time, my parents thought they got the last laugh. But then we all got really comfortable with my lifestyle. And now I get the last laugh and I get to go, and I still had to come out to them.
That's a phenomenal line.
Thank you. Isn't it so funny? It's our new catchphrase. It's funny now. Exactly. And so, like, in a lot of ways, that little like nostalgic childhood memory is great. And also, my parents were so wonderful. What I'm trying to say is far more wonderful than I would ever be. We were at Animal Kingdom one day, and there was this like souvenir stuffed zebra thing, and I was like, I think that's what I want, but we have a rule: one souvenir on this trip. And I wasn't willing to pull the trigger yet. Yeah. Exactly. Well, then I didn't see anything else that I wanted. And so on like the last day, my dad rode the Disney trolley with me for what was round trip, probably 2.5 hours. So I could go get this like stuffed zebra. We didn't even like ride any rides. I think we like saw a couple.
Dedication,
like to the point now where as an adult, I'm like, what did I do to deserve that love?
That's
so kind.
My mom would have never. My parents would have been like,
my dad
take it
went.
Now. Or like.
No, that's true. Teresa would as well.
Yeah. That's precious.
Last story from this. A couple episodes ago, I shared a story about how I just always assumed Mom was at Lisa's house right next door.
Yeah.
And that if she wasn't, I would just then ask Lisa who's... Right, so my mom goes, oh yeah, and just heard the story about how I'm a neglectful mother.
Oh no!
And I go, okay, so 2 things. 1, I thought I had framed you in a really good light. And 2, I kind of thought you had stopped listening. And so, Mom, if you have made it now a couple more episodes and that didn't chase it away, thank you for the wonderful childhood and the love and the sport and the like kind of spooky Disney World adventure. There is nothing like exposure therapy to get over your fear of a terrorist taking over your plane.
Teresa, he has nothing but good things to say about you.
There's like hours of evidence of that now.
She pinned onto the one thing. It's like, oh, so I was neglectful.
But that's why I'm so funny. I think that's what people need to understand. It's the timing. Okay, so
cool.
So that's my experience with the happiest place on earth. Did you ever go to Disneyland, Disney World?
I went to
Anything
Disneyland.
fun?
I went to Universal Studios, but that was like as an adult. That was like a couple years ago. And then I don't think we ever went to Disney World. We went to Disneyland a couple times, but I was so young. I don't really remember it.
It was nice.
Yeah.
We I remember because we were still booking through like a travel agent.
Yeah.
So when they went to Disney World, I think Disney at the time gave them away for free, like a promotional tape. Ooh. And it was like a 7-minute tape just to get you hyped for Disney World. And I think we watched it so many times we broke it. Like we got so excited for the trip.
Cute. Oh my
2001
God.
was a scary but also much simpler time, which I think is how a lot of us think of 2020 now.
Ironically, Grant remembers 2001 fondly.
Oh, and like vividly.
Oh my God, yeah.
Well, do we want to get to what we have promised the people, which is a couple Am I the Asshole episodes?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to let you take it away.
Yeah,
I'm going to take a breather break here for a second.
Let's finish your drink.
There's a cherry here at the bottom, and it's the nice like maraschino ones.
Yeah, you got it.
If you don't want yours, let me know.
Okay, well. Okay.
You have a story. I'm going to shut up.
Yeah. Okay, so... Am I the asshole for uninviting my stepson from our anniversary trip to Disney World?
Oh, Disney theme still.
Yeah.
I'm loving it.
Okay.
So say the title one more time. Sorry, let me log into this.
Am I the asshole for uninviting my stepson from our anniversary trip to Disney World?
Okay.
Yep. My husband, I'm 42 female, he's 45 male, had a surprise gift to celebrate our wedding anniversary, a trip to Disney World for the whole family this summer. Our kids are close in age but have very different personalities. My son, 16 male, is an extrovert and has a very active social life and does a lot of activities. My stepson, 17 male, is an introvert that prefers to stay home and does not have much going on in his life outside of school. They still have a good relationship, even playing video games together sometimes. My son was not on board with the Disney World idea at all. He had no interest in doing this kind of trip with his family and was especially upset because it would make him miss out on his current girlfriend's birthday. He was really angry about the situation, yelling at me multiple times, demanding to stay home instead of going to the trip and accusing us of ruining his life.
I love teenagers.
Oh my God. I don't. On the other hand, my stepson was really excited about the trip. My husband is used to having a kid with no friends when doing plans like this, so he didn't expect my son's reaction. I felt that going just with my stepson would be anticlimactic and wouldn't fulfill the original idea of it being a trip for the whole family. I also didn't want to leave my son fully alone with all the house to himself. We decided to leave them both, so my stepson can keep an eye on my son's behavior while me and my husband have a romantic trip for just the two of us. My stepson is sad because he wanted to go on the trip, but my son is happy about the new plan. My stepson was more intense about his disappointment at first, crying and whining a lot, but he has mostly calmed down by now. I asked my son to try and include his stepbrother a little in his social life while we are out so he wouldn't be so lonely, and he said he would try to. My husband feels bad for his son being sad, but I am convinced this is the best solution for everyone. Am I the asshole?
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. You uninvited one son because the other one didn't want to go?
Was bitching about it?
And now you want them to be close?
And now you're like, oh, well, will you invite your stepbrother to do things?
Hey,
you know there's no way that's going to happen.
You're here to make sure you are a live-in cock block for us.
Yes.
But the person you're blocking, we want him to bring you along to places.
We want him to be happy, primarily.
Also, I mean, I hate to say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah.
But it sounds like she didn't really care if the stepson
stepson
was there
at all.
or not, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the stepson was fine when she also had a son there.
Yeah.
But now that her first son, her first son, isn't going to be there, well, then I don't really want any kids there. And I'm all for romantic weekends. I've gone on plenty of solo trips.
Yeah.
But that was a little too real.
That one had a bad aftertaste for Grant.
It was just the truth of it. You know,
I
they
get
really
it.
could have sat there. Yeah, it's like, what's the dynamic that you want to cultivate between your two sons?
That gives like evil stepmother Cinderella vibes.
Yes, it
big
does.
time. Like, it's very obvious she is more worried about her son's interests than her stepson's.
Right.
So much so that she's willing to alter plans to keep her son happy and make her stepson unhappy.
Right. To the point where it's like, listen, if her first son doesn't want to go, I get feeling weird about letting him stay, especially if he's still in high school, right? You could be like, hey, fine, if this trip isn't for you, okay, we are not going to leave you unsupervised. And so your option is like this, or you can come with us to Orlando and then stay at the hotel the entire time. Like, you don't have to be at the trip. Like, we can help make you celebrating your girlfriend's birthday special in a way that like is conducive to like our whole schedules.
After we get back, we can celebrate. Yeah.
But you can't be like, oh, you don't want to go because the first girl who's ever held your hand turns 17 while we're gone. Okay, well, that makes sense. Stepson, you can't go to the happiest place on earth.
Everyone suffers.
Hey, stepson, who, as his dad said, is used to not having any friends.
Yeah.
That's actually also like so sad.
So sad that they know he doesn't have friends.
Yeah.
And they're like, here's the one thing that you were really excited to do. You can't have it anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, remember that relationship you thought you had with us? Psych.
That's so sad.
I also think maybe, like, I mean, obviously, you and I have different family dynamics.
Yeah,
and I think even within our family dynamics, we have different relationships with different people.
Yeah.
I think you can love a person in your family,
Yeah.
and that can be expressed differently
Yeah.
than how I love a different person.
Yeah.
Like, infamously, when I call home, it is my mom and I and my dad in the background,
Yeah.
like a backup singer on a Drake
100%.
album. Yeah. No way. Proud of you. Love you, son. Right? And like, good. Yes,
Yes.
that's a healthy dynamic.
Yeah.
Mom and I are talking about our work environments
Yes.
right now.
Yeah.
And it's like, my brother and I spend time together in a different way than my sister and I do,
Yeah.
100%.
100%.
And love should be elastic in that way.
Yeah.
And also, famously child averse as well. But it's not like bringing your stepson means you can't have a romantic evening or a dinner.
Exactly.
Like, being 17 is because that's how old the sons
Yeah.
are, right? It's still a universal experience. If you gave me $200 and dropped me off at a mall, I can find 3 hours worth of things to do. Like,
Yes.
even the least creative kids with the right amount of cash, obviously not every family can do that, but you're going to Disneyland. So we're assuming some kind of like wealth flexibility.
You could have
here.
dropped me off at Brookstone.
Yeah.
In the late 2010s. I would have sat in one of those chairs
Yes.
and then played with all the little thingamajigs for 2 hours.
Do you know what I actually want to do this weekend, kind of regardless of everything? Go to a movie, sit in a massage chair, get a soft pretzel from the mall. That's
That
4
sounds-
hours worth of activities.
That's easy. Easy. Yes.
And after dinner and alone time, what are you going to do with the other 3 hours and 15 minutes with your husband,
Exactly.
You don't even need the amount of time you can buy.
Also, why are you sending your 17-year-old son to look after your 16-year-old son? There's that John Mulaney comedy special where he's like, the concept of babysitting is so weird. Like, you're asking a horse to watch your dog. Something like that.
John Mulaney leans hard in on the horse analogies.
Horse in a hospital.
Hospital, yes. There's also that episode of Bob's Burgers where they keep hiring the same babysitter, and she's awful.
I love her.
She's like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here, and she just sits and stares at the blank
and
TV.
then Louise is like, do you want the TV on?
Like when the Belcher children are so sad watching it, they turn it on
For her? Yes. Oh my god.
Babysitting in general is just so weird.
So strange.
Because do you know what parents love to do? They'll be like, Grant, this is Lauren. And I'm like, okay. And they're like,
babysitter.
Lauren, she was 17 when you were 8. And I was like, well, that's not a connection I would have made. At 8, I would have never been like, Lauren, I hope we run into each other again.
Yeah.
When you're an orthodontist and I'm like a college student. Like, what is this supposed to mean? This doesn't mean anything. I know she was the eldest daughter of your friend in the neighborhood.
Yep.
Means nothing to me.
I feel that. I know I had a girl crush, and honestly,
girl crush.
Yeah, on my first babysitter, and her name was Christina, and she was the reason that I wanted to be named Christina. I was already named Maya.
Are you the main character of the movie Lady Bird? You know that's Lady Bird's name.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. It's canon.
Yes. I do remember that. I watched it once, but it was a good movie. That's all I know about her. And every once in a while, my parents will be like, "Oh, she's doing this," and I'm like,
"She's doing great." And you're like, "I guess I'm rooting for her."
Well,
did you ever do any babysitting yourself?
Yeah, a couple times.
Completely uneventful.
Yeah, the most eventful was I did a little babysitting at the barn that I rode at, and I would watch people's kids while they went and rode their horses. And there was this lady who had a very temperamental horse, and so she had to spend a lot of time with him. Ironically, she also had some very temperamental children.
Okay, so there's a common denominator.
Yeah, they were 2 and 4 at the time, and the 4-year-old was fine. It was the 2-year-old. The 2-year-old knew enough English and
they
could
always do.
Yeah, could definitely understand me, but chose exactly when not to. Correct. And it was infuriating.
Kids like that end up getting kicked by horses.
Yeah. And that's why I was there. Exactly. Yeah. Because that kid would be like, I want mommy or whatever. And we would have to go find her with her massive horse.
Sure.
And be like, see, mommy's over there. Okay, let's go back now.
You gotta appreciate the commitment to your principles when you're so easily picked up, you know, like when you have almost zero body autonomy. Exactly, your dog. Yes. The first and probably only time I've ever experienced discrimination was when I was trying to get babysitting jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Listen, this is a finished product. Which meant there were like stages, metamorphise of this. And one of those versions was really into teaching Vacation Bible School. Ooh. And while that was fun at Vacation Bible School, it was weird and untrustworthy as like a regular babysitting job during the summer.
I wonder why.
I get it. Both for my gender.
Yeah.
And I gave off a weird vibe. Like, I'm sure I did. But
if you would have seen his hairline, you would get it.
It would have been insane. It was insane. I look younger now than I ever have. And I'm bald.
That's true.
I had, like, one kid who was, like, a hyperactive boy. And so to have a boy babysitter, he would listen to me because misogyny is ingrained, like, deep, you 100%. know? And that was my only babysitting gig. And it was, I mean, he was great. I remember being tired of it. Even at the time being like, God, this kid kind of always needs to be watched, you know?
Yeah.
Family was really lovely, though, you know, and also it wasn't the kid's fault. It was just the fact that I had to be responsible for a child, like outside of a classroom where I was like, this isn't for me.
Yeah. There were a couple girls in my sorority that got like nannying gigs.
Yeah, because I didn't get them.
Yeah, well, I never had the time to have a nannying gig, but those gigs sounded so like you just had to organize your class schedule so that you didn't have classes on whatever days you needed to nanny. They got paid so much money.
I feel like there's two categories of that kind of job where it's what you just described, or it's the like, we will pay you $8 a week for this full-time job.
Yeah.
And you cannot bring any wheat into this house.
Yeah. The nannies that got hired out of mines were usually like also tutors. And so that's, I think, where
that's a good line to blur.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, exactly. One of the comments on this Am I the Asshole is, you're the asshole. What in the evil stepmother vibes is this? You're punishing your stepson because of your son's behavior. Will he need to sweep the fireplace too while he's home? Yeah, everyone just agrees she's the asshole.
Obviously Cinderella, and there's that moment where the mouse is carrying all the cheese, and he has to use his chin to hold it. I brought in Starbucks for a couple coworkers today, and I had to open the door at one point, and every time I do that, I just think of like the mouse.
Gus.
Yes, Gus in his little crop top, because that's what they were wearing.
It's true.
And like trying to like balance everything.
Yeah.
And I just trust my chin in that moment to
be
okay.
You do. No, I do
absolutely.
Too. Absolutely. Okay.
Well, I really enjoyed that. Am I the Asshole? One. This one, I remember reading it at the time being like, oh, fun, and like maybe controversial. And now, no memory of it at all. Right. Okay. So we're talking about Happiest Place on Earth.
Okay.
And I think for both you and I, that's home. That's the beautiful home we have curated specifically for ourselves.
Mine currently is still in Iceland.
She went to Europe and it changed her life. She'll talk to you all about it.
Take me back. I'm really sad. The sheep there, the sheep in Iceland, just like Rome.
Was it Iceland or 24-hour sunlight?
It wasn't 24 hours.
How many hours was it?
Like 20.
Okay, so it was like a lot of sunlight.
It was a lot of sunlight.
Do you know how hard it is to be sad during the middle of the day? I do. I have summer break every year.
Do you know how hard it is to be sad when your every need is taken care of by these adult summer camp counselors?
I love how educated you are, and your big takeaway is like, God, to be a kept woman.
I honestly learned some things about myself this week. One being, I want to squish a sheep so bad.
Like in a positive way?
No, I just want to...
Okay, like fluff it a little bit.
Just fluff it.
You don't want to like kill a sheep.
No.
Okay.
It actually really turned me off from ever eating lamb again.
Oh, really?
The lamb is
they get old.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but I just don't want to do it anymore. But in Iceland, they just like let their sheep free roam. throughout the entire summer. And so we were at this like very famous waterfall. There's like a sheer cliff on one side, and there's just sheep on it. And we're like, what the hell? And everyone's like, oh, they'll be fine. They're there all the time. And so every year at the end, they like literally are just in the mountains and like on the coast. There's sheep everywhere. And like in September every year, there's like a countrywide event where everyone goes and just herds the sheep in, and then they put them in like this big pen, and then you like go in the center of the pen and you like look at the like tags and you organize the sheep by like what farm they go to, and then they live at their farm for the winter.
I love that Iceland is small enough to do group projects.
I mean, it's like still separated kind of by region, but like amazing.
It's like a simpler life.
Yeah, and we talked to a couple Icelanders, and they're like, they'll tell you it's because like free range sheep, it's like better for the sheep, but honestly they do it because every year at that event everyone gets so drunk.
I love that. If you've ever been to a harvest festival, you understand
exactly.
it.
It's like basically like that, except there's more sheep wrangling.
Well, if it makes you feel good, chickens are miserable creatures a lot of the time, so eat them nuggets. You're totally fine there.
Yeah, I've never really felt bad about chickens. They're kind of dumb, but the smarter they are.
Sheep are also pretty dumb.
Okay, but they're really freaking cute.
Okay, so Maya will decide if you live or die if you move her cold heart or not.
And I do like chickens, actually. I had a friend that had chickens in college, and one time me and Tyler Pritchard actually went to a karaoke night. We were at a karaoke night at our like town, or like college town, and our friend Brock had these chickens, and he invited us over after the bar closed, and so we came over, and it was like walking distance from the bar, and he took us out back. Everyone was inside, like playing Mario Kart or something, and he took us out back to his chicken coop, and like no words were really exchanged. I just remember he just handed me and Tyler each a chicken. And we were just sitting there, and you put their heads close to each other because that makes them comfortable, and they were just like cooing. It was like,
why do I feel like
it was amazing?
Because I feel like animals can pick up on energy, so I think your chicken was fine, but like Tyler's chicken had to be a little nervous, right?
Yeah, probably.
Also, I want to point. So, first, the two things. For those of you who live in cities, your municipal code probably allows you to own way more chickens than you think it does. So if you want to pause and Google something, Google that right now. Number of chickens I can own, name of city, Denver. I think Denver's like 6 at least. Can own. That's a flock of chickens. Second, I wanted to be like, okay, well, that's enough Iceland talk. But it's the happiest place on earth, and you came back from a Nordic country, and you're like, guys, they just got it all figured out now. I love it there. It was. Although I did eat fermented shark, and that was a very strange experience. I'm sure it was. But you got to do it. Like you have to do it while you're there. You eat panda when you're in Asia. You have fermented. I'm kidding. You do not eat panda. The face you made, like you believed me for a second.
You're typically more educated in like the civics.
I
don't know about that, Grant. I've been bamboozled by you one too many times.
Oh, I know. The amount of times I rewatched you watch Lee get bamboozled. It's like watching a kid unwrap a present at Christmas.
So excited.
You're just like, I just love seeing the joy on her face. Well, let me throw it. You found your happiest place on earth, and it's a Nordic country.
Yeah,
do you actually know what Icelandic is super familiar, like similar to? Japanese. It's a reference to episode 13.
And it's Finland, actually.
Which is also a Nordic country. Okay, well, before I get cut off, I'm going to go ahead and read mine now.
I'm going to turn off the recording.
Maya always just pulls up the story on Am I the Asshole? But my weird trust issues requires me to take screenshots of it.
That's fair.
So, about 20 minutes ago, I said our happiest places are our homes.
Yes.
And that's the setup for this story.
Okay.
Am I the asshole for telling my girlfriend her home decor is the reason I won't host a work gathering at her place?
Yikes. I already know the answer.
I, male 32, have been with my girlfriend, female 29, for over a year now. She's smart, funny, a bit quirky, and has a serious job with a good salary. She's Zoe Deschanel. We have a great time together and generally get along really well. The only thing is her choice of home, and then he already puts it in quotes, decor. It's bizarre, to put it frankly, and not something you think a normal grown adult would be into. gonna probably just give you a trigger warning now. We're about to hit a lot of our listeners' hobbies. Her apartment is definitely a reflection of herself and her interest, which apparently he loves. Not in the best way, though. My girlfriend has a wall dedicated to animation in one room of her apartment, like Futurama pieces and etchings of some weird triangle guy. Then there's the wall of frame-preserved insects in another room, but not insects like butterflies or moths. Instead, she displays tarantulas, beetles, and large stick insects. Her bathroom has a subtle theme of the ocean. Pretty common. But instead of starfish or shells, she has little anglerfish. She's a little anglerfish nightlight, a small vampire squid painting, and then a framed diagram of what apparently is a goblin shark right by the toilet. I don't even know what a goblin shark is. I would say a majority of her home decor and furnishings are okay. The apartment itself is very modern and sleek. It's just the random decor and juvenile-ish things like cartoons, insects, and bizarre ocean creatures that is off-putting. This is... Oh, okay. We just Googled goblin shark.
I get it.
Okay, I'm a bit on the fence. This is where I might be the asshole. I avoid bringing people over to her place, especially people from my job, because of how juvenile it looks. Everyone's impressed when they see the high-rise, but that quickly fades once you enter. The one time I brought a work colleague over, they ended up telling me after they found her insect wall terrifying. I work in finance, and appearances and first impressions are important. My office will hold casual gatherings where we get together for a few drinks, good food, and we rotate hosts. And this time, it's my turn. The problem is, my place is under some construction and not an ideal place to gather. So I've been staying with my girlfriend. My girlfriend suggested that we host my colleagues here since she has the space and thinks it'll be fun. I told her I plan on skipping my rotation and seeing if the next person would be okay with hosting early. She kept pressing on why I didn't want them over here, so I finally said it's because her home decor is strange and not something a grown woman would have. And also that her insect wall horrified the one colleague that did come over. My girlfriend got mad and said at the end of the day, it's not my space and these things bring her joy. She also said that she is indeed an adult woman, which is exactly why her apartment is decorated in such a manner. I love my girlfriend. I do. And it's okay to have different interests. But does an adult really need to decorate with them besides a few things here and there? I mean, my own mother asked if my girlfriend was autistic after she saw the apartment for the first time. So, Reddit, am I the asshole?
I have a lot of follow-up questions.
I'm sure you do. Sorry, that was also kind of a long read, but that was a rich and detailed story.
Okay, here are my stipulations.
Okay.
I love my decor. If you can't tell, this massive.
Oh, are you engaged?
No, I'm putting it up to get because the camera catches the reflection of the ring light and it messes with the focus. So yes, I'm engaged, but that is also for a reason.
So that's a visual reference. She just has a huge photo of her engagement taped to the mirror behind us. And I love love and I love these two, so it's fine, but I'm like, oh, that's
it's either that or just a white piece of paper, and like that felt a little weird.
I'm comfortable around whiteboards, just for the record.
Well, like, I felt like a picture would blend in a little. I don't know, whatever.
So what are your stipulations?
Stipulations. I need to know what the decor looks like. Because I am fine with any level of decor, but if it's framed nicely, if it's like all the Futurama stuff or like anime stuff or whatever, and it's framed and presented as if it's like a collector's thing or something that's like treasured, or if it's taped to the wall.
Right.
Because those are two very different vibes. I'm assuming the insects are framed. I hope.
Could you imagine if they were just needled into the wall?
Into the
like
wall.
some poor live beetle is being held and she runs it through its heart right into the wall.
Like Coraline style. Yeah.
I think we're both imagining like some antique frames.
Yes, I would think it would be like framed insects.
Yes.
Which is creepy, especially if you have like the insect phobia, but it's also an art form.
Right. And not an unheard of one.
Yes.
Neither one of us went like, wait, what? With like framed insects.
That's like a thing. Like you can pay hundreds of dollars for that stuff. It's like
Right.
a common collector's thing. I think it's like I'm more like questioning what the like status of like the anime or animated stuff that she has
Right.
is. If it's like taped like a Playboy magazine poster on the wall. And,
Oh,
like,
you saw Pulp Fiction too, huh? Cool, okay.
like that, or if it's like framed and presented nicely. Because either way, like I get the boyfriend's perspective, like appearances are everything and it's his job.
Right.
It's his group of people. He knows them best. Like ultimately if Casey were like, hey, I don't think my coworkers are going to like this thing that we have hung up.
Right.
Would you mind taking it down? Whatever. Like that I can kind of understand. But him telling her that like these are childish and not something that an adult woman should have, even though theoretically he loves her for it.
Right.
Seems very like two-faced kind of. And also judging that your entire work like colleague group is not going to like it based off of that one person
Right.
that didn't like it, where that person might have like arachnophobia or something like that. The goblin shark, that one's a little weird. But also I'm all for that kind of like offbeat kind of like
Yes.
humor. Like I
Right.
can get it. I don't know.
Yeah, like,
Also the mom asking if she's autistic.
and the guy freely sharing that in the Reddit post too.
Asshole. The
Because so until that last sentence,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, like this is a pretty reasonable guy.
Yeah.
And also, for the record, there is nothing wrong with being neuroatypical or anything
Yes.
like that. But to be like, oh, this one feature about you that I wish I could change, I can't change. Maybe it's because of this thing.
maybe it's because you're autistic.
Right. It feels like and you did all the math and yet you still somehow came to like
Yeah.
the wrong conclusion about
Yeah.
things. Yeah, I think I'm biased because for years I have been on the lookout for a like eccentric picture of Dolly Parton to hang in my bathroom. Like I just
I
want
have Cher in my bathroom.
Yeah, I just want like a couple of candles and like Dolly Parton leaving a nightclub in like 1979.
I love that.
That's what right, you can see it in your
a
mind's
vibe.
eye,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So hard to find. And so like I'm on the search for that, right? I'm by no means an antiquer.
Yeah.
You've seen my place before. It is very much
Yeah.
like minimalist,
Yes,
postmodern kind of
100%.
stuff. I have like a couple pieces that I think are really fun, but yeah, it's like a couple of pieces.
I'm a maximalist, in case you can't tell by the fact that the wall behind us is completely covered.
But it's gorgeous, and we get lots of comments about how cool your place is. Like whoever thinks I'm funny would think of me differently if they saw a lot of my walls.
It's well decorated.
Thank you. That's actually maybe one of my biggest like sources of like I like my house. Anyways, it's like it sounds like he does really appreciate how quirky she is, and I think seems fine living in a house that's that quirky.
Yeah.
Right, but doesn't believe that the house matches the like professional presentation he wants. And here's the thing, I have hosted people at my house who the day before I have spent 12 hours in my yard because I refuse to let people see how like badly overgrown it is. I almost bought a new mower once to make sure that it would be mowed properly. And none of my friends have yards. They don't know and they don't care.
Yeah,
But so I
true.
get the like I want to present myself
Yeah.
in a certain way, and I don't even think it's saying this is my authentic self. I
Yeah.
think he's like, I want to come across this way so I can
Like
get a promotion.
cleaning your place before.
Correct. Yes,
Yes.
100%.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, like, how many rooms does this apartment have? Like, how many rooms are you using? Like, is
True.
it
you could
her
just keep
office?
them out of the room with the insects.
Right. And also, it could be. It depends on maybe what her thoughts on her decor is, right? Because there's plenty of people who are like, oh, don't you like my decor? Isn't it so fun? That if you were like, hi everyone, like welcome, I just as a heads up, we're staying at my girlfriend's place, which is not mine. She's like far more artistic than I am, and so we're gonna have a fun competition as to who can find like the most random or like out of place thing, and like if you can take a picture of it, we'll like figure out who the winner is, and then you can turn this thing that you like maybe feel a little weird into
like a game,
right? And like it's all goes back to that book, The Art of Gathering, which is like when people come together, they want to be led. When people come together in a social situation, they want something dictated to them. Yeah. Like I think of your birthday. Maya had this great birthday where she went off to a thrift store and got a bunch of just like random thrift items. Yeah. And when you showed up, you pulled a number, and that bag of items, that was your costume. And so a lot of us are wearing like muted whites and blacks going to this party so we could wear whatever. And obviously there was more logistic details. Message us on Instagram for the whole procedure. But it was like so fun to go to. I was a barista who also had like a tie on, and my shirt did not have a collar. Like people want to revel in an experience like that.
And it brings people together too, because everyone's like, wow, we're a little uncomfortable in this new way.
Right. Yeah. But maybe it's also easy for us to say this kind of stuff because we're at least 1 degree removed.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
Like if I had to...
I'm also not a finance bro. So.
Right. If I was bringing my principal over and my career depended on how well I pulled off a bit, like I could also see that being nerve-wracking. Yeah. I think he's doing an okay job holding space between like... I care about this person and I like these elements of themselves, and that's not how I want to present myself. Yeah. And I feel like maybe the communication there was wrong.
Yeah, I can like see where he's coming from for sure, because work and personal life, there is a line that sometimes you like cannot cross, however much you love either side of that. But like, the comment about his mom saying that she might be autistic is really what got me.
Just like sends it into the opposite direction completely.
Like, yeah, it's like you can like have space for that, and I think maybe he probably could have delivered it to her better, being like, we try and keep it, I don't know, like I don't want the pressure to be on you to like represent who I am or something like that, but like obviously it's like a hard situation, but there are better ways to do it. And then throwing it back to like, well, my mom thought you might be autistic. Right. Is like,
and I've been thinking too as to like why that comment upset me so much when I read it. Yeah. Because again, like there is nothing wrong with being neuroatypical. And I think part of it is that his mom saw the place, and instead of being like, oh, I accept this person for the way that it is, I hate this so much that there has to be some reason, and then I can only accept it if there is some reason. It just feels like it feels intentionally dismissive of who this person is.
Like, she can't just like these things.
Because, and up until that sentence, I think at least from a queer perspective, like, certainly much less than maybe people who are older than me, but I've definitely had moments where if I'm seeing someone that like all of their gender pronouns get dropped in the story that I tell of them, right? Right, yeah, Instead of being like, oh, he was sick, I'm like, oh, they were sick. Yeah. Oh, like my partner was like busy this weekend, or like, oh, I'm going to this wedding with like the person that I'm seeing. Yeah. And like the intentionality of like professionally I need to be more A than B, but I love who you are, and it's not a shame thing. Yeah. It's just I don't have control over every institution that I'm a part of. Yeah. But a complicated story, and
very complicated.
I vibe with all of the decor that they described. Yeah. Wall full of strange beetles. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to see. I've seen enough dead butterflies.
Yeah, I don't want to live with it, to be fair, but I would love to see it, and I would also love her to like explain it to me. Right. And like hear about like what she's passionate about. I would understand maybe if the boyfriend was like, hey, can we take down the picture of the goblin shark? Because I can't unsee that face. Can we
either take it down or frame it in a way that demands to be seen? Yes! Because to stumble upon it, that's not what she wants.
Oh, no. That's creepy. That's weird. I didn't like it. I also just don't like the deep sea.
I would love it, too, if you, like, framed it proudly over the mantle. Yeah. And you're like, y'all have heard of those, like, adopt-a-things? This is our goblin shark. They're endangered. And we give money to like Goblin Shark International.
How weird would it be if she framed it right over the toilet so you have to put your back to it? Like,
is there a way
the
where we
toilet.
could get the reflection of the water in the toilet to be the goblin short?
Hang it on the ceiling.
Do you know who's right for this challenge? His girlfriend. His girlfriend is creative enough to think about it. Yes. Because the thing too, like, it's so scary to like be like, hey, here's the weird thing. Like, I told you the Netflix show that I am binging over and over again right now. And it's like one of the most popular shows on Netflix. And when I told you, I was like, we are not saying this on air. Like, I am not proud of what I have continually rewatched. So to see someone who's like, these are my interests, see?
Everyone looks.
Exactly. Like, that's so cool and interesting. And
cool.
I want to know about it. And I want to be places and I want to see something and I want to think of you instantly.
Yeah.
Like, he has a treasure of a person on his hands, and so I get why the girlfriend's like this is me. Like, this, like the expression of herself and herself are not two different things. It's the same thing.
Speaking of which, I was in Iceland.
Oh, good. I'm sorry. I forgot. Were you in Europe recently?
Iceland, actually.
Which is in Europe, isn't it?
Specifically Iceland. I think
Atlantically Iceland. Go to the ocean. Why am I so proud of that? Go ahead. I can listen.
That was so stupid.
It was also so quick.
It was really quick. I didn't really understand what was happening.
Until you replayed the tape in your own brain.
Until I knew I was disappointed.
And you remember you said Pacifically?
Yeah. Anyway,
Go ahead.
So in Iceland we were like on a trip with like this group of people, right? One of the people in this group, his name was David. We all called him Dave. He's from Nova Scotia. He's like, I want to say in his like 60s, 70s maybe. He was one of the older people in the group. But him and Casey got along so well. Because he was one of like only 2 people in the entire trip that was traveling solo. And he said he hadn't been on a vacation in 15 years because he runs his own company.
Oh.
Yeah. And so he was just so stoked on everything. Anytime we went anywhere, he was like so excited about all the cool things that he was seeing and like all the like cool like rock formations and glaciers and all this stuff. And he was not ashamed to like express how magnificent he thought everything was and how he wanted to come back and see the different seasons and see everything. And the second to last day, we went into this canyon and we completely lost Dave. And usually we would lose him. He was like a little bit farther behind or a little bit ahead because he was just so excited.
Sure.
And so we completely lost him. He was like, we knew we would find him again also because it was like a one way in, one way out, you know, kind of thing. And he was just looking at rocks.
Okay.
And he also had GPS and it was fine. And like there was phone service and everything. But we went all the way in. There's this really cool waterfall at the end, but we hadn't seen Dave since like the river crossing, basically. And we came back out and we were drinking beer or whatever. Dave was with us. And Casey came up to me as we were like getting on the bus and he was like, Dave wanted me to give you this rock. He gave me this rock. And Dave was like, yeah, it just like reminded me of you. And like, I thanked him for the rock later and he was like shocked that I liked the rock. He was shocked that I like kept the rock. And I was like, yes, I love rocks. And he was like, see, I had that sense from you and like, I thought you might like it.
It's not a boulder. It's a rock. That's so precious.
I know. It's like, wow.
It's like...
I love him so much.
I saw this. We don't need to talk about what I was looking at on TikTok last night. It's fine. There's just like a lot going on. I am good though. But I saw this TikTok and it was like, hey, you want to know the only reason why your friends like you? It's because like 2 minutes in your presence like recharges them and brings them so much joy. And I was like, okay.
Oh my God.
We go back to broski. And then I like scrolled up real quick, liked it, and then scrolled it away again.
Yes.
I was like, when it's bright out, we can like kind of revisit it.
It's that kind of stuff that gets you so hard, though. Oh my God, I feel that.
Like when you landed, and I was like, I don't know, I just like missed you. Like it's great that you're back. I don't.
You wanna know what my response was? I'll tell you that I missed you once I've recovered from not being in Iceland.
You're like, I have 3 business things to put on your radar, and then do not talk to me for 24 hours.
I slept for 26 of the 36 of the first 36 hours I was back. I counted this morning.
And now you're reset.
And now I'm reset. And I have this rock from Dave. And I have another rock that has a little bit of moss on it.
You know, pretty soon here, we're going to go to Europe together, and that'll be really fun to do that. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm so excited. We're going to have so many stories.
An expression of my, appreciation for Maya, I texted her today, and I was like, hey, have you ever been to Paris? And then you had to be like, hey, sorry, I was almost mean because I thought you were joking. Yeah, I've been to Paris. Remember that time I spent a week in Paris with Tyler? And I was like, oh, yeah. And dear listener, and this isn't news to Maya, I shared this then later on in the thread. I had asked Maya if she had ever been to Paris. I have been to Paris. I'm fortunate, like I said, public school teacher pay is better than you think. Again, not great, but it's better than you think. I've had a chance to go to Paris, and it was nice. It was cool. Nice. And in my mind, I was like, if Maya hasn't gone, she should go. And I would happily go again with her. I'm not too good for it. So let's just make sure. If she hasn't gone, I'm like, let's go. And she's like, duh, you dumbass.
Had a thing written out. I was like, are you fucking kidding me? And then I was like, what? I don't think you would be asking me this if you didn't actually mean it.
Oh shit, is he sincere? Oh, hold on. I gotta redraft.
Back. Select, alt, delete.
Do you know what my happiest place on earth is? This right here. What are you gonna do about that? Immediately cuts it. Okay. You could see the cord come out. Hold on. Do we have any announcements?
Yes. We're gonna do another Am I the Asshole on our Patreon, so go on over there if you're excited for that. And then follow us on social media, Well I Laughed. If you have any suggestions, you can email us or message us.
Yes.
Our email is wellilaughdpod@gmail.com.
And if this gets published before we leave for that trip, right?
Yes.
Do we want to tease out the thing that we're doing on Discord?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to do it?
Yeah, so we have another option on our Patreon that is Discord access only. And it's $2 cheaper a month.
$3 in total a month.
Big saver. So if you want to, when Grant and I are in Europe, we are going to be visiting the one and only Tyler Pritchard.
Assuming he's not jailed or something. You never really know.
Dead. I don't know. And if we're going to do an episode.
Correct.
Or something with him. And if you have any questions or comments you would like us to ask or relay to him, we'll be fielding those in our Discord.
I also want to just go ahead and open that up. If there's any insults you want us to deliver, Maya and I are seasoned pros in that department.
I might pay you if you come up with a good insult.
Right now, we just need to figure out how to make sure people in France can't hear this part of the episode, so it's a surprise. But if you would like to, through us, talk to Tyler, feel free to
hit us up
join
on
our
the Discord. Yeah, or just sign up for the Patreon and you also get access to the Discord. But yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. We have thoroughly enjoyed this. And take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Hey, we're back.
Hey, sorry. This is why we check show notes.
We also didn't announce what the theme is for next week. So, Grant?
And it's mine, so I'm really excited about it. The theme for the next 3 episodes is a silly little treat.
Okay, bye.